Good morning, good evening, good day, wherever it is. Hello to you. Welcome to another hot metal fabrication YouTube video. Today, we are going to be putting a Santa hat on our Baby Yoda here. Now, we drew this up some time ago, and basically what it was I took an image of Baby Yoda that I had found online, and I scanned and traced it using the program. Now, everything to do that I just mentioned is built into the program's software. So, for example, we go to image tracing, we can load the image, automatically trace it, and we get a pretty good generated path that generally we just have to do a little bit of cleanup work to get it ready for actually cutting out to mostly be plasma friendly. A lot of the times you get a ton of nodes. You can see like in certain spots, all these little white spots, those are little nodes where the tool path changes direction as opposed to a smooth, consistent arc with a consistent radius, or the line is not perfectly straight, or whatever the case may actually be. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to import a Santa hat from some picture online, and we're going to cut it out. Now, I could draw the Santa hat by hand, but that kind of defeats the purpose of showing you guys how to use the automatic tracing that this program is capable of. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull over a tab here, and let's go find a Santa hat image. And it could just be basically anything. So we'll go to images here, and let's see if we can find one that looks like it'll be easy to draw. So this one actually would work really well. It's got sharp lines and it'll import pretty cleanly. So if we look here, we have the nice black lines. There's some shading in there, and I'm not sure how that will actually import. A little bit of shading on the bobble. This one would also work as well. It doesn't seem to be as fun though. The sharp lines don't really seem to work with what we're going for here. This one would work as well. Again, we're looking for mostly the sharp lines. Now, if we were to use something like this is just a stock photo of, I'm assuming, something that's going to be sold. Those fuzzy lines, the fuzzy outlines, those are going to import terribly. And I may even show an example of that. In fact, let's go ahead and do that. So let's get the good Santa hat file. Okay, so we're going to save image as Baby Yoda Santa hat. We got that. And then just for funsies, we're going to download this one as well. Save images as Santa hat test. So we'll do that. Okay, so we've got our pieces here, and we're going to go ahead and go back into Omax, and we'll leave this here for now. What we're going to do is we're going to open up another file, and that is our Ranger utility rack bracket set. But we're going to open up a new file. We're going to go up to the top here to image tracing. We're going to load an image for tracing. We're going to go find it in my desktop. So in this case, it's going to be my downloads folder. So this is the first one that I want to go with. So we're going to import this one. Interesting that it didn't load. Let's do this one then. We'll start out with this one, and I'll go figure out how to get the other one on here. So again, fuzzy lines, they show up even weirder in the actual program, but we're going to go ahead and set it up for the automatic tracing, and we'll see what happens here. So this is all just kind of information. We're going to hit next. It's going to ask you to load whatever image you got, and all the steps are up here at the top in these tabs. So if you have a bigger image, but you only want to trace a certain section of it, you can do that. We can narrow the window down of the units that we actually want to trace. We'll do that. And it's going to set it up. It's actually going to create the first version of it. And we have a couple of sliders that can adjust the depth. Now, the black and white threshold is what's going to make tracing this specific one really hard, because the rim of the actual hat itself has those white fuzzies. So we can drag it back and forth, and we don't get a whole lot of, definition in the hat. And it may actually be good enough, but it's going to be pretty hard to do anything with it. So let's just see what happens here. We're going to trace the outlines here. The center lines are if you trace a piece of, a bracket that you want to cut out on some cardboard, this is the one that you would want to use. But in this case, since we're cutting out some artwork and we want definition to it, we'll cut with tracing outlines. So yeah, it's kind of ugly here, and I get all those squares too. And we can deal with that. Not too hard to deal with that. Might be able to get rid of them here. There's a few other slider options that we get. Yeah, so we can get rid of all of that. That might be okay. Let's see. If we bring it back a little bit, might be able to get rid of most of the squares before it actually processes. let's just go with this. Again, this is just an example. So once we have that, we have our Santa hat. Now this one is it's just not what I would have gone with originally. I just wouldn't have imported this one. It's just it's got the vector squares in the background, and it's just not what I want to deal with. So I'm going to go new, and I'm not going to save changes to that. Let's go find that original file that I knew would be good. Let's do that. All right, we're back, and we had to go with this one. I'm not sure why that other file wouldn't load. I believe just the file type was probably protected of some type. So we had to go with this one. We'll go ahead and get rid of all the sharp little features. Baby Yoda isn't a very sharp type of personality, if you ask me. So we're going to go ahead and proceed with this one. So we're going to do all the same that we did before. And look at that. We got a nice clean. This is actually really good. And I'm actually not going to have to do very much cleanup at all. So I definitely don't want all of that black section to be there. But I do want to sharpen the lines. We're going to smooth that out a little bit to make it a little bit easier to deal with. I'm looking at this line right here. I'm going to try to keep that as my point of reference. Maybe it might go away in the future. It kind of depends on how it looks once we actually put it on Baby Yoda. But for now, we're going to go ahead and kind of play with the slider until we get a file that we like. And I think I like it like that. So we're going to go ahead and set that. Again, tracing outlines, I want all the inside and outside outlines to be cuttable and definable. So we're going to hit next here, and look at that. Super clean, super easy. We are going to tune it up a little bit. Let's see if we can't get rid of some of the arcs. So like less arcs. It should create less entities, less nodes, be easier for my CPU to process it. Straightening it out, we can go many lines. You can see, if you look at this line right here, this is the one that's going to have all of the problems, if any. And then when we bring the slider, the line straightening all the way up, it straightens it out quite a bit. It actually straightens out most things, but I don't want too much straightening. So we can go with that. And there's not really any small features like there was with the last one that we tried to do. So we're going to go ahead and post this, and let's see what happens here. So this looks really good. Now, we can go into the info here at the top right, and we can actually see how many entities there are. Total length of all cutting entities and all this other information is here. The amount of entities total is 343. That other one, that had to have been well over 1,000, 2,000, maybe even more than that. And the more there are, the harder it is for your CPU to process it. I mean, we've had files that take up to 5 minutes to process. We don't have the strongest computers for the most part, especially for stuff like this, but they do okay for what we need them to do. But still, to take 5 minutes to process, essentially a group of entities, it's a little excessive. So now that we have this, we're going to Control-C, and we're going to go open up the Baby Yoda file, and we're going to paste this right on top of it. So we have it, and it's not scaled correctly. Obviously, that is kind of a small hat for little Baby Yoda there. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out the size that we need to make this. Now, in this case, I'm just going to guess. I'm just going to go to the size tool here at the top left, and I'm going to guess that I need to scale it up by a factor of 4. I'm going to hit OK, and that actually almost looks correct, doesn't it? It's not bad. Actually, we could go with that. We're going to roll with that. That's not a bad look for Baby Yoda. We'll set that up like that. So now that we have the size correct, we're going to go ahead and clean up some of the features. Again, I didn't want any of these sharp lines. I want it kind of to be a smooth arc and no sharpness in it. Baby Yoda, again, I don't feel has a sharp personality, so the Santa hat shouldn't have these sharp features. The only sharp feature you'll see here in the drawing is maybe the tips of his ears, maybe. But even those are quite rounded off, and I made sure of that because everything, I want it to be a smooth drawing, a smooth cutout. And let's see, any other sharp features? Yeah, everything's pretty rounded in here, and so just to have these little sharp features on the hat, it's just, I don't feel it's correct to have it, so we're going to get rid of those. And to do that, first thing we need to do is we need to convert this to a traverse quality. Again, if you remember the last video, the traverse quality is the quality that DXF files understand every other quality. Apparently I didn't actually do that. Select everything, there we go. The DXF only understands traverse. All the other qualities are for water jets specifically. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect this feature here down to this inside outline here, which you can see we just selected. To do that, we're going what I'm going to do to keep everything consistent is I'm going to copy and paste this entity, move it from that end to this end. It didn't quite join, so I'm going to do that again. Copying and pasting basically makes it so that this is all one consistent. They're all the same length. They're all set at the same angle. And so it intersects this. I'm going to go zoom in on that. I'm going to go over here, click on the divide tool, right click on the divide tool, divide at the nearest intersection. I'm going to click there. And then I'm going to start getting rid of some lines. I'm going to deselect everything to make sure I don't accidentally delete something I don't want to. I'm going to get rid of that line. And now we have our intersection with which we are able to build off of. And this would be essentially something that you know, we can go forth with and kind of modify. Basically, I was looking for this node. I wanted this node right here because what I'm going to do is basically the same thing over here, except we already have a node and an entity right here. So now I'm going to get rid of that and that. I'm going to get rid of that and that. And what that allows me to do is copy and select these two right here for my point of reference. To recreate this to not be so sharp is going to be over here. I'm going to right click here on the circle tool. I'm going to hit a 3-point arc, click on that. The start of the arc is going to be here, the end of here to the end of this node over here. And now we can define the actual arc itself. And this is one of those arbitrary things that has no, you know, you can go up, you can go up, you can go down, it doesn't matter. But we'll be kind of close to the way it was before. In fact, I'll set this, I'll use the near to tool, which is down here. So I'll click this and I'll just click somewhere around the middle of this top feature. I'll click and we get a nice smooth arc. So keeping the old feature selected, we're going to do the same thing with the bottom feature. We're going to right click on circle. We're going to left click on 3-point arc from the end of this feature here, which remember earlier we had to create this node, to the end of this node. And we're going to do a similar thing, but we might bend this one down a little bit. Let's just do right here, just an arbitrary amount. And there we go. Now I'm going to get rid of this line, and we've already selected all of our features that we want to get rid of. So I'm going to hit delete. And there we go. We have a nice smooth Santa hat feature. So now we can work on getting rid of the sharp spikies on the bobble. Now this one might be a little interesting, but it's going to be a lot easier than you think. But what we're going to do is we're going to break the bobble away from the rest of it so we can use the select connected tool to our advantage. To do that, we're going to zoom in on where it's connected to the main feature. Get rid of the smallest and last entities before it's connected to that feature. And it looks like we're good. So to test that, I'm going to hit S on the keyboard, C on the keyboard. I'm going to click, and I see that I've selected the two features that I want to get rid of, but not anything else. So that way when I hit the delete key, those go away, but nothing else does. So now what I can do is I can actually draw both of my circles. So I'm going to use this end right here, this node right here, as my circle start point. So to do that, we're going to hit C and E, a circle to the end of, and we're going to draw the first circle. We're going to draw it, maybe we'll draw it to the end of this node right here. And if we do that, it'll make it a little bit easier on us when we adjust everything in the future. So we're going to hit E and then click near that node, and we've got that circle. We're going to do the same thing for the outer feature of the bobble. C, E, click, and we'll do the same thing for this end of the node right here. We're going to delete all the old features, and we're going to get busy with some dividing. So we're going to divide at all intersections, everywhere the circle crossed over a feature that we want to keep. So here, here, there, and then of course there and there, we're going to get rid of. So we're also going to verify that there's an intersection at the joint, even though we use the end snap tool. We're still going to make sure that there's a node there. So we're going to click everywhere there's an intersection, and now it's time to start deleting. So there and there, get rid of that one, get rid of these. Zoom back in on here, get rid of those, and there we go. And we've got a nice circular Santa hat bobble. Now, it looks correct. It almost looks a little funky because it's not perfect. So what we can do is we can use an arc to kind of change up how, let's just say, how fun it looks, and as opposed to sterile. We'll just use the word sterile. So what we'll do is, now that we have our circle arcs, we're going to do 3-point arcs from everywhere the circle was created. And we're just going to fun this up. I just made that term up. We're going to fun this up to make it look not so consistent. So we'll change the arc for the bottom for the outside feature. We'll change the arc for the top on the inside feature. We'll just do one of those. We'll skinny that up. And that looks a little bit better. You know, it's just artistic liberty. You can do basically whatever you want. There's no limit to what you can or what you want to do with this program. So let's put this back over Baby Yoda and see how it looks. Now, before we get too far, I just want to remind you guys that we are going to actually intersect the bottom of the hat with his head. So all of this will go away eventually. That looks a little silly, but we'll change that up. We're going to drop this down quite a bit, and we're going to intersect some of the features, and it's going to take some time, so there might be a time-lapse montage. So, for now, what we're going to do, bring this back out. I actually decided that I want to get rid of this little sharp doodad right here, which is really easy. I'm going to create a quick line from that node to that node, that and that, to allow me to separate it using the Select Connected tool. I don't quite like how, you know, there's a couple of sharp jogs right there. I'm going to get rid of all of those. I'm going to do right click on the circle tool, left click 3-point arc, end and end, and we'll hit that. That looks better. We're going to do the same thing here, get rid of all that sharpness. Actually, we're going to leave those in as a reference before I go too far. Right click, circle, left click, and we'll do one of those. That looks great. There's another sharp feature here. Just select those so we have them as reference. 3-point arc again, end to end. We'll just do something like that. And that looks fine. A little bit more fun. We're actually going to get rid of some of this ugliness over here too. It's kind of small in terms of feature size, and I'm afraid that the definition of it won't be, you know, super good on the plasma. So we'll just do one of those, and that looks fine. Everything looks great here. We can do a similar thing here. So in this case, what I'm going to do is right click, 3-point arc, the end of this near to this, because there's no node. So I just needed to do near to that line. It'll create its own node. I can get rid of those. And this looks pretty good. So we're going to put this back over Baby Yoda, and we're going to rotate it until it looks correct. So it needed a little bit of adjusting. Or maybe we want it to be a little bit... Yeah, let's just go for a little bit of a tilt. A little bit of a fun tilt. So we're going to fun this whole thing up. So we're going to go for this. So basically what I have going on here is a whole lot of hoopla. There's a lot of stuff to worry about here. But that's okay. We can adjust for that. What we're going to do is we're going to use the quality tool to our advantage. So what we're doing that is going to let us be able to pick individual qualities when we want to. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on the quality tool. I'm going to make it select a window. I'm going to do here, select the hat, and I'm going to change it to the number 1 or the red quality. Or purple, I guess it's purple, whatever. And now what I can do is, if I want to move only the hat, I can right click, I can select the quality, I can select, there we go. Apparently I did pick number 3, not sure how that happened. But now I can select the hat individual from the traverse quality of Baby Yoda. So deselect all, right click, select quality with traverse, and now I select Baby Yoda. And it's going to make it so I can identify which is which and not get the nodes confused pretty easily, which can happen, especially if we're intersecting a few different features like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to select everything here, and we're going to lay this back over his little head. We're going to do one of those. So let's go for that, and we'll see how it looks. We can always back up and change it up in the future if we need to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to intersect the hat with his ears by dividing it here. We're going to see how that looks. So click, 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 and click. We're going to break all these to join them. There we go. Now the hat is intersected with the ears. Now, to get the hat to be continuous all the way over, we have to break it everywhere it intersects. But I'm just going to see how it looks with this part of the hat on top of him. I don't think it's going to look correct, but let's just see what happens when I do that. So we have a weird intersection here, which is kind of annoying. So what I'm going to do is get rid of that by doing another 3-point arc from here and here. Change that. Carefully get rid of all of those. There we go. So we don't have a problem there. And now we can do the same thing, divide it, all the 4 intersection points of this area. Get rid of that. And now we're going to get rid of all the features so they stay connected. Get rid of that and that and that. And there we go. Now we still have this to worry about, and that's okay. Not a problem. We can get rid of that. We have another tool available to us, and that is the render tool. Now, the program will only render non-traverse qualities, so everything other than a traverse. So if I just click render, it's only going to render the hat out. But this feature is handy because it lets us know what's going to drop out and what isn't going to drop out by the white and the black negative and positive spaces. So essentially, since there's an open path here, because this is the only purple quality, that's the only part that's going to cut out. Easy change. We're going to select all and change everything to the purple or 3 quality. We're going to render everything, and we're going to see how it looks. You can see there's tons of errors in it. There's tons of dropout, tons of missed and features that aren't connected or are connected and shouldn't be. So we're just going to back up, and that was just for demonstrative purposes. So at this point, what we're going to do is select all of the purple qualities, or the number 3 qualities, once again, and I'm going to deselect a window because I just want to get rid of everything here down at the bottom and just see how it looks. So I'm going to D and W for deselect window. Let's see how much I can grab. Let's see. So I didn't grab everything. So we're going to press D on the keyboard and just start manually clicking everything that we don't want to delete. That looks fine. We have an intersection there. They're intersecting, and I'm going to delete. And there we go. We have a Baby Yoda that looks like we need to delete. Connect that. Make sure the same thing didn't happen over here. It did. Get rid of that. Close that up. There we go. We've now got a Baby Yoda with a Santa hat. Now, again, a Santa hat would actually cover his forehead, so all these forehead features are going to go away. But let's just see how this looks for funsies. So right-click. We're going to select all. We're going to make everything the purple or 3 quality. We're going to render this out, and we're going to see how it looks. And you can tell there's a few errors in it. Nothing too major. We can deal with it. But the actual outline of it, I think it's not bad. It's a good start. So we'll back up here. And we will turn Baby Yoda back to the traverse quality. We're going to put back everything that we deleted. Once we get to a certain point, I can just deselect everything. And that's all fine. So now that Baby Yoda, now that his head is covered by this Santa hat feature right here, everything inside of it is going to be deleted. So the easiest way to do that is going to be by breaking a few of those entities and then reconnecting them later. So I'm going to get rid of that and that. And let's see, I'll break this here. And then that'll be it for now. So get rid of that one. Let's see, how far can this go? Okay, that's a start there. And this stuff takes time. It's not easy to set some of the stuff up. I mean, the original Baby Yoda file itself took me probably, I don't know, 3-4 hours just to clean it up and get it plasma cut ready. Because I have to consider things like the distances between features. You know, this distance right here is 0.07. It's really close for the plasma. With the fine cut consumable, it cuts fine, but with anything bigger than the fine cut nozzle diameter, then it's not going to cut out very well. So at this point, what I'm going to do is just start dividing at the nearest intersection of everything that intersects with that feature, that bottom feature. We do that, click, click, click. This is going to be a difficult area to deal with. We'll just skip it for now. Click, click. And I probably missed a few, but that's okay because we're going to go back and grab them anyways. So now what I'm going to do is try to use the window tool to select as much as I can. And I selected some of that purple feature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect all purple qualities, delete. There we go. So now it's a little bit more clear. We have a little bit more clarity on what we need to do here. So get rid of that, that, that. Let's see, grab that. So we can grab this as well. And yeah, right away you can tell there's a few entities that obviously didn't get deleted. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that there's an intersection at those entities. And at this point, I think we're going to start working individually. And what I mean by that is we're going to zoom in on each section and take care of it individually as opposed to looking at the whole program. Go over here. We can get quite a bit here. That looks like it was already divided. We're going to do it again just to make sure. It doesn't add an entity if there's one already there. It just verifies that it was taken care of. So we'll get rid of this. All right, we're back, and this looks pretty good. A couple of changes I want to make. Here, get rid of that sharp little corner guy right there. Maybe we'll fillet that at a big fillet so it smooths it out. We'll do much, about 0.2. That smoothed it out. That's good. All right, so now we have a pretty good Baby Yoda drawing. Oh, a couple of problems. Looks like we need to connect this. That looks fine. Oh, we need to break that right there, I believe. Is that what happens? Yes, we need to do that here. Oops. Let's back up and look at this a little bit closely. So we've got a double feature here that needs to be broke. It needs to be broke somewhere. How do we do this? So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this and that, and we see a feature here that needs to be enclosed. Enclose that. That is all one contiguous feature. We can verify that. Yep, looks like the connected tool grabbed it all, or most of it at least. Connected tool grabbed most of this. That's fine. So we have this feature to deal with. To do that, we're going to... How are we going to do this? Now, it's not that big of a deal to leave an open path in the drawing, but when you go to CAM, when you go to post-process this in CAM, what's going to happen is it's not going to offset all the other features correctly, or it may have a hard time doing it depending on which CAM software you end up using. So we're going to take some inspiration from the other side here to figure out how to set this side up. Yeah, it looks fine. Actually looks great. So we have an entirely enclosed feature, closed feature, closed feature. Everywhere's good. I know the rest of the file is good. Let's see here. This looks pretty good. We can get rid of a couple of nasty entities. We'll just put some auto fillets in. Let's just do that. Get rid of that one entirely. Oh, too much. Let's do that. Get rid of all of those, actually. Same thing here. Get rid of that rogue node. This looks not too bad. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and select the quality of all, change it to purple so we can render it out. Let's render it out and see if we missed anything. There might be an unenclosed path somewhere. So what we're going to do, we're going to go over here to the Clean tool. Now the Clean tool has a bunch of neat features that'll help you out. And for the most part, the defaults are totally fine. That's what we're set at right now. We may need to change those. Let's just see what happens here. So we're going to start. So 835 gaps were identified and closed. Let's see what that did to our render. Perfect. That is it. That is all that we needed to do to get this taken care of. We have a good, clean, cuttable Baby Yoda file with the Santa hat on it. And we're going to go ahead and get this cut out, and let's see what it looks like.